When it comes to concrete, we've got you covered. RowPaint.com offers custom concrete coating services for your garage, business, warehouse, and more. And we do it in one day. We are your complete concrete coatings solution.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Well, greetings, Boise State fans. A happy Friday to you. We made it through another week here. BJ Rains, Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com with you. And as I said, it's Friday. That means Jay Tust is here, sports director over at KTVB. Jay, I now see your Mariners are joining my Cardinals in the battle for Juan Soto here. So,
hey, apparently there's a short list posted today of teams that are in the race. It only had four members. And, yeah, our team's made up half that list. I was kind of shocked. I will say this. It's trade deadline. And when the name is big as Soto, he's going to go to, like, New York or L.A. L.A.'s made so many moves over the last couple of years. I don't want to get my hopes.
Wouldn't it just – I could – 1 o'clock on Tuesday or whatever, right before the deadline. Can't you just picture it, him going to the Dodgers?
Yeah, I can. And I hope he's a Mariner because, man, BJ, I need a win. I need to win badly against R.J. Keene of the Boise State men's basketball team. He's been kind of harassing me on Twitter, recently because his Astros have been beating up on my Mariners. But I need a win, man. I need a win against him.
Well, we have reached that time of year where I can't go I don't do it anyway, but now definitely can't go more than 30 seconds without refreshing my Twitter account or searching Soto or Frankie Montas or whatever else. Trade deadline season.
We're going right on the same dudes.
We are. And but the Mariners, it's different because in the division, I doubt they'd trade I want Shohei Ohtani. I know if you're gonna go get Soto, why not give up the farm? Why not get a guy that can pitch and hit? I wonder if they trade him.
If I'm him, I want out of LA. If I'm Trout, I want out of LA. At least the Angels of LA, because that is way too much talent to not have good teams. They remind me of the Mariners, like back in the day when we had Griffey and A-Rod and Edgar and Randy, and we'd struggle to get to the playoffs, and that's just too much talent to struggle with.
Well, we appreciate everybody for joining us for the trade deadline podcast here at BroncoNationNews.com.
I always say, man, the Mariners got to make it interesting until football season for me, and guess what they've done? They have made it interesting until football season, at least our football season, which begins next week.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy to believe this will be our last show. I guess Tuesday, technically, we won't have practice yet, but we will have had media day next week. But appreciate RowPaint.com, all of our great sponsors. I saw some reviews on their Google account or channel or whatever it's called there on Google reviews for RowPaint.com. So if you're looking for that new concrete coating or for your basement, your patio, now's the perfect time. Check them out, ROEPaint.com. And Jay, there's not a ton going on right now. It's the final Friday. You got the basketball team having their final workout today before they get a couple weeks off. The football team also is kind of scattering this weekend to get a couple final days off, before camp starts next week. We do have the announcement yesterday, and I do want to talk about, we have a clip from Andy Avalos we're going to play about, playing at home and the home record and kind of, one of the storylines that we talked about going into the spring or the season here next week. But they did have an interesting announcement yesterday about the new concession stand deal, the new food company. And I thought that, as interesting as that deal was, it was some of the fine print at the bottom talking about a new beer garden or beer area. And some other announcements that they said are coming in future weeks. So they've been talking about the game day experience and wanting to up that, and it does sound like that's those announcements are starting to come out now.
It just feels like game day is going to be much more enjoyable for fans at Albertson Stadium. If I'm being honest, BJ, and I'm sure this is the case for you, I've never consumed a football game at Albertson Stadium as a fan, whether it be the Potato Bowl or a Boise State game. It's always been work, right? And
I have done the Potato Bowl a couple of times.
Okay,
I got out of work on that and took my kids, but we made it about a quarter, I think, both times.
a little chilly. And even the rules for the Potato Bowl or the setup for the Potato Bowl is different than game day at Albertson Stadium for Boise State. But it certainly seems like they're trying. I feel like they've heard the requests of the fans. Like they finally, allowed the purchase of alcohol. But it didn't, if you talk with some of the fans, it didn't go, as smoothly as they probably hoped last year because, beer lines were long or it took a while or just whatever it might have been. I will say this, though. Boise State was operating on an expedited timeline last year as they tried to pull all that off. And now they've had a summer to think about it and, recalibrate and try to make this thing better than ever. And it certainly seems like they're making progress on making the fan experience better than it's ever been at Albertson Stadium. And the cool thing about it, BJ, is they're not just counting on a football team to play well. Like they want the experience to be good around that. And then you look down and the football team's playing well. I mean, that's just going to be a perfect Saturday during the fall.
This is kind of a press conference Friday. If you've ever had a question you wanted Jay Tust to answer, this may be the opportunity today. As I said, there really isn't a whole lot going on, but we'd be happy to take any questions or comments that you guys do have today about any Boise State-related topic. So fire away, and we'll get to those. Chartwell's Higher Education is the name of the company. It's the new dining partner across campus on Boise State. Which means that they also have to provide the food at Albertson Stadium. And so there's, some jargon about there over 300 campuses in the United States, one of the bigger, dining companies out there for colleges. But it says the new partnerships will bring program enhancement and enriched game day experience to concession stands, premium spaces, and fans. Jay, among the things they're doing, they'll have new signage around the concourses. They'll have, some new menu items in the suites. Double R ranch, maybe some new carving stations for meat and things like that. And then they're going to have a new mobile ordering system. They're going to have beverage-only ordering stands and quick grab-and-go options. So you mentioned the lines being kind of long for some of the beer and things like that. Well, now you can order from your phone, and there's separate lines just for beverages and then quick grab-and-go things, maybe like hot dogs or sandwiches or something. So it does sound like they're trying to make some changes there. And then, as I said, the expanded pregame Ford fan zone that they're going to announce about, a new local brewery patio, which is going to be on the concourse of Albertson Stadium, and then Bronco Alley over on the east side where that mural is. They're going to have some new food trucks and adult beverage kiosks over there, too. So I know it's not where they want to get, but it is a start. And, what stands out to you there? I think the mobile ordering might be nice. And then also the some of the grab-and-go options in the drink lines.
I read that fine print, BJ, and I'm a little concerned.
Didn't hear anything for the upgraded media dining.
I saw no upgrade guaranteed for the media room. So we might have to seek out from Cody Gogler, Jeremiah Dickey. We might need some clarification on that.
Time to start holding people accountable, Jay. It's time to start holding people accountable. The real question that was not answered in the press conference or in the press release from Craig Lawson is what's going to happen with the media dining. So
yeah,
they said the suites. I mean, I guess we're right by the suites. Maybe they just left out press dining. I'm sure that's what folks
maybe. I'm sure it's at the top of their minds right now. Stuff to tackle. I wonder for like the average fan, like how unique and how different game day is going to feel for them this year, just because like this stuff hasn't been available in the past. And I think that one thing that was like the hang up last year. I can't remember exactly, but something about even like the processing time of transactions, like the simple giving and taking of currency in order to purchase stuff. Like even that was a little bogged down just because they didn't have a better setup for it. So these are all things that have been brought up, though, to Boise State, and man, have they been hell-bent on trying to fix it all. And it just seems like this has the makings of being a really special fall. I said this the other day for the Boise State basketball program. Like the program encompasses everything. So like as this pertains to football and what they're doing, it just feels like the program is set up to have a really good fall, and that the program involves more than the players and the coaches. It involves administrative staff and beyond. So it just feels like it could be a cool fall over at Albertson Stadium, considering how motivated the team is to prove that they're better than 7-5 like they were last year. The fact that you get San Diego State and Fresno State on the blue, future scheduling might dictate how the frequency of that happening. So enjoy it while you can this fall, and BYU too. I mean, BYU on the blue for the final time. So, man, it just really could be a cool fall over at Boise State.
And don't forget, they've already announced some stuff. The one that I was a fan of, or I would be a fan of if I was a fan, is the smaller things like TVs in the concession stands now and things like that, where a lot of people complain that they would, stay in line and, miss half a quarter because of the long lines. Well, now at least they're trying to make the lines shorter, but if they can't, they'll at least have a flat screen TV there for you to watch the game. So they are trying, it sounds like, to do some of those things. They have the Experience Blue, I think, committee it is. I know we've got 4 or 5 of our I saw the list of people on there, and I recognize 4 or 5 of them from commenters here on the site. So it sounds like they are really trying to do some things. And I don't want to say this is patchwork, Jay, but I mean, we've all seen the drawings and things like that. I mean, they have much big-term goals for the east side of the stadium and things like that. But in the short term, I think they're trying to do what they can to try to make it worth it to come out to the stadium.
Yeah, and they're doing their best. We'll see how fans respond. I mean, even the seats are supposed to be more comfortable this year, right? Like you got to
buy. Yeah, it's a separate thing you can buy. I think that not for $75 or something. That looks pretty cool. The chair back seating and all the things that they're doing. So
I mean, talking with Andy Avalos down at Mount West Media Days, like I know all this stuff is meaningful to him. Like I know that he appreciates not having to worry about it because that's somebody else's job, but still it affects his program. It affects the perception. It affects him getting recruits. It affects everything. And so the fact that he finally has that type of support, people working for him like that, and just as passionately about that as he is about coaching this football team, it's awesome. And, if being honest, like now it's the fans' turn to respond. It really is. Hopefully that football team wins a lot of games and it excites the fan base, but hopefully the fan base likes to go to Albertson Stadium, enjoy a good time and a football game at the same time.
Yeah, that was one of our storylines that Prater and I talked about 2 weeks ago, the fact that the season ticket sales have declined up until last year for like 7 or 8 straight years. Mm-hmm. It's been a struggle to fill the stadium. They've had to go to some discounted tickets, the week of a game, and some fans weren't liking that because they were paying full price earlier in the summer for tickets and season tickets. And, last year was a little bit better than it had been, but, then the team goes 7-5. And I think that there was some question about what the attendance would look like, what the numbers would look like. We haven't seen a season ticket number yet. We've seen in basketball, they've added almost 1,000 season tickets. So you see what the momentum can do there when you're carrying over from a solid season. So that is a storyline. What's going to happen? The first home game, UT Martin could have been, Michigan State, but the fact that it is at 2:00 in the afternoon in mid-September, you're probably going to get good weather. If you're 2-0 coming off an Oregon State win, in week 1, and then the New Mexico game, you'd have to feel pretty good about that. And like you said, the home schedule is solid, so I do think that is going to help as well. But I think that is interesting to see what, Jeremiah Dickey says this whole 6 sellouts and all this, and some people take it as lip service or control what we can control, all the stuff like that. But I mean, really, I think this year when there's, which I do want to talk about, there was a tweet from about the Pac-12 Media Days today from their commissioner about expansion. But it does sound like I think selling out 6 games or having 6 big crowds at home would help for a lot of reasons.
Jeremiah has developed some cliches since he's been on campus at Boise State, but he kind of speaks all of them into existence. And you bring up realignment. Jeremiah's one of the things that he says or always says is that, everything counts, everything matters. This is a fall where if Boise State's fan base wants to better position themselves for realignment, everything counts. Everything matters. 6 sellouts has probably never been more important, not only financially for Boise State, but also perception that the people want to watch this program and are going to beat down the door in order to watch this program. That makes them more appealing outside of the state of Idaho, potentially in the Pac-12 or Big 12.
Hey, transportation compliance service, check them out, transcompservice.com. If you're looking to get a fresh start, a new career change, you want to do something new with your life, consider being a truck driver, and they can help you every step of the way with all the permits and things you need. Transcompservice.com. Boise Dentistry Co. Locations across the Treasure Valley, even down in Mountain Home. Full family dentistry, and they've got all the newest technology and equipment. And Dr. Meinert makes it fun going to the dentist. You can talk sports while you're in the chair. My kids love going to see Dr. Meinert there at Boise Dentistry Co. You check them out online. Book that appointment now, boisedentistryco.com. I am now a client of United Commercial Insurance, and I got to tell you, it couldn't have been easier. The process was quick and easy, all done through online, and we have all of our insurance now. Jay, you haven't filled out the paperwork yet, but I guess you have your own workers' comp insurance, but you could be covered now under Bronco Nation News policies as a part-time employee here. But United Commercial Insurance, 44 states around the country, they can write business insurance policies in, and they've done a tremendous job helping us out. So we really appreciate United Commercial Insurance and their support of Bronco Nation News. Ridley's Family Markets as well. ShopRidleys.com, 13 Idaho locations. Love going to that Cuno location down there, whether it's the at-home shopping, the Skip app, the home delivery, all the new stuff that everybody's got from COVID. Ridley's has it, and they're big supporters of the local sports scene, and we appreciate their support. So next time you're heading to the grocery store, if you're going to McCall for the weekend or something, check them out, shopridleys.com. Okay, I did want to play a quote from Andy Avalos and talk on the field and the home record, but first, Jay, we did have a question here, and if you have a question or comment, feel free to get that in through the YouTube or Facebook channels. Jim Barker asking about, do you feel like the Mountain West will stay in place with all the existing teams through 2024 with the addition of teams asked to join the Mountain West? So not only are they going to stay the same, but will the Mountain West add? Well, I think that obviously has to do with what other teams do. And the Pac-12 commissioner did come out today. They're having Pac-12 media days right now, Jay, which we both have been to. We met there, talked to Chris Peterson one year before he came back and played in Boise. I don't know if it's still at the Warner Brothers Studios, but man, that was a whole setup there for Pac-12 media days. And I would guess they're probably done having Pac-12 media days in LA with the two LA teams leaving. Maybe they moved to Vegas like everything else. That'd
be great. Maybe we could piggyback off it if we ever need to.
There you go. Or just stay there if that's where the new Pac-12 media days are, if Boise State can get there. But the quote from the commissioner of the Pac-12, quote, they're actively exploring expansion opportunities. Pete Thamel, I think he's now ESPN, said it's rare that a college commissioner openly acknowledges potential expansion. But the Pac-12 commissioner says they're, quote, actively exploring expansion opportunities. Didn't mention teams or anything, but the fact that they are looking, Jay, they're obviously looking two places, the Big 12 to try to get some of those teams to come back instead of losing some of their teams, or the Mountain West probably. So what do you make of the Pac-12 confirming they are looking at potentially adding teams?
I'm just massively interested in who can maybe get the first team to bounce from what conference. And I guess what I mean by that is, can the Pac-12 convince one of the more prominent or a couple of the more prominent programs from the Big 12 to leave that conference and head west? Or does the Big 12 do that to the Pac-12? Because when it comes to realignment and when it comes to revenue and dollars, that's probably the top of each conference's wish list, right? I mean, just the reality of it. They would rather have, one of the elite programs like an Oklahoma State than Boise State. I mean, that just is what it is. That being said, it is interesting to hear the conference commissioner openly admit that. I mean, we all know it, but everybody's so vague with conference realignment. It's interesting to hear him say that they're actively exploring, and that can mean a number of things, BJ. Like, it could mean that they are evaluating teams to come in the league, or they're evaluating the current value of their 10 teams in Pac-12, and they're just like, no, this is the most valuable, sustainable, promising thing for our future. So maybe we do just stay at 10. But, I did want to say this. Like, there's been so much chatter and buzz on social media about like how this would affect Boise State. Like, would they agree to join the Pac-12 at a decreased, percentage of the revenue share? That would be really hard for them to do, because if you were to leave the Mountain West within a year, if you give the Mountain West less than 1 year's notice, you're looking at a $33 million exit fee. If you give them more than a year's notice, you're still looking like $16.5 million. So you're supposed to pay that exit fee while operating with a fraction of the revenue distribution that everybody else in the Pac-12 is getting. And on top of that, not only are you supposed to pay those bills, you're supposed to compete. That would be a lot to overcome.
Yeah, and sometimes you do, depending on how much you're wanted by the other league, sometimes you can get the new league to help pay for some of those costs, kind of like if a coach leaves for a new school, the other school will help cover the buyout sometimes. But, I'm not sure, That's what it's going to come down to for Boise State. Yeah, it depends how many years it is, and I think BYU and some of those schools have like 2 years where they get less shares, and then it works itself up back to the normal share. So it's only a couple of years. So if you're talking 2 or 3 years, maybe it's okay. But if you're talking 5 or 10 or permanently, less of a share, well, I don't think that ever makes any sense for Boise State.
Right.
But
I mean, imagine if they get like kind of the opposite deal to join a Pac-12 or Big 12 that they have in the Mountain West, where they're basically grandfathered in. I mean, it's part of their agreement. It doesn't matter how many people watch them or go to their games or any of that. Like the agreement that Boise State signed going into the Mountain West was, we will always get more. I mean, simply put. So imagine if that's what it took. The exact opposite of that is what it took to get into a bigger conference. That would just be tough. Like it really would. I mean, you don't say no to it, certainly, but there are some challenges that could lie ahead. Sure, it's not as easy as it always sounds when it comes to realignment.
Apparently, the Big 12, said they were, quote, open for business, I guess, for expansion or whatever. George Klivikoff with a kind of a one-line jab back at him. He said, "I appreciate that. We haven't decided if we're going shopping there yet or not." So maybe he said maybe they're going to be the ones that try to take the teams from the Big 12, not the other way around.
That's what I mean. That is going to be at the top of the wish list of either the Big 12 or the Pac-12. Is trying to get the strongest brands out of either or conference into their respective conference. And I know that everybody wants to talk about San Diego State and Fresno State and Boise State.
There you go. It's Keaton right there on the comment. No matter who takes from who, it seems like San Diego State is the main attraction in the Mountain West. What do you make about that? Or
I don't know if it. Seems like San Diego State is the main attraction in the Mountain West. I mean,
you still believe that any expansion from the Mountain West starts with San Diego State?
Leaving the conference?
Yes.
I think that the Pac-12 and the Big 12 are going to explore other options first. Like I said, they're going to want the Big 12 is going to try to get, the Colorado or the Arizona schools, Utah, Oregon, Washington, like that's at the top of their wish list. And for the Pac-12, that the premier teams out of the Big 12 are going to be at the top of their wish list. They're just worth more.
But I think if they go, I don't think anyone would argue that. But I think if they decide, okay, if you said right now one Mountain West team is leaving to go to the Pac-12, Boise State fans might hate to hear it, but I think you have to rank them in order that San Diego State would be at the top, wouldn't you?
Probably. I'll say this.
Well, they probably wouldn't just take one. I think you'd go 2+, probably. But I think if you look at the new stadium, all the stuff we've talked about, Boise State fans don't want to hear it. But San Diego State probably is a little higher on the list, the wish list right now. But that doesn't mean Boise State can't still get in.
Correct me if I'm wrong, BJ. But coming back from Mountain West Media Days, after talking with everybody, the general feeling that I got from it was that the Mountain West at this moment isn't too worried about losing teams. If they do, they know they're going to get one hell of a payday out of it. So that will help them transition into a future where they might lose a couple of their big teams. But on top of all that, I still feel like the most coveted programs out of the Mountain West are Boise State and San Diego State, in no particular order with those. Not necessarily Fresno State or the other teams or schools that are making noise or that you kind of hear things about on social media. Like that was just one thing that kind of hit me. Like, again, I could be wrong, but coming back from Mountain West Media Days, that was just my take on it, is that Boise State and San Diego State are the most coveted. And at the moment, I don't know how worried the Mountain West is at losing somebody in the imminent future.
Well, Derek Morales says it seems like Boise State maybe is the top Mountain West target for the Big 12. San Diego State is the top target for the Pac-12. I would agree with that. I need more context on this, Jay, because stuff keeps coming through and like blowing up my phone. But somebody must have asked George Klivikoff about merging with the Mountain West. I've never once heard that as a possibility, but the tweet just says George, however you say his last name, says that merging with the Mountain West is not an option the Pac-12 is considering. So anyone that had thoughts of the Mountain West and Pac-12 merging together to form some super conference, unfortunately,
another thing that it's so funny. This always comes back to realignment, BJ, and man, we've gone down another rabbit hole with this today. I know, but another understanding that I have through conversations about realignment is get over the fact that it's always going to be about operating numbers and strength. It's more to do with money. And the Pac-12, like, they're not just going to add 6 teams out of the Mountain West or whatever just because like they feel like numbers and strength is ideal for them. It's going to come down to the bottom line. And Oregon and Washington and other schools in that conference are not going to want to make less money by just having more teams in their conference. It's not the way that's going to want to work for them.
They said, Keaton says Boise State fits the ideology of the Big 12 much more.
That's true.
I will say this, from what I've heard, and we've talked to some of the same people, I mean, it does seem like behind the scenes, up until all this crazy stuff happened with USC and UCLA, that Boise State quietly was still had the Big 12, I think, as their preferred destination, or the one they thought was more likely. And I'm not sure that's still changed based on some people I've talked to. Not saying it will happen, but I think the Big 12 does make more sense maybe from the Pac-12 in terms of just similar, things. And so who knows what's going to happen. But I would still say, whether if it's 90% they're staying in the Mountain West, I would put it at 6-4 of the remaining 10%. Big 12. I'm not trying to say it's 51-49 they're going somewhere, but I think if they left to go somewhere, based on what I've been told, I still do think the Big 12 might actually be a little more likely than the Pac-12.
I'm trying to think. 90%, 6-4, 6-4 adds up to 10. Now we're dealing with really weird percentages.
10% they'd be leaving, 90% they're staying, I guess, is what I'm trying to. I didn't want
to
come out and say,
51
Big 12, 49 Pac-12 and make it look like it's 100% they're going somewhere. But and who knows? And it is crazy.
But here's the deal, BJ, that can be less subjective than it even sounds. And the reason why is because, as we've discussed before, there are certain hurdles to get into the Pac-12 that they haven't shown a willingness to budge right now, that they would in order to allow a school like Boise State into their conference. And it has nothing to do with GPAs, athletic performance, any of that stuff. It has more to do with research programs, and we've talked about it. We've talked about it. So that's why there is still more of an opportunity to freely go into the Big 12 than maybe the Pac-12, because there's just hurdles in place.
Yeah. And who knows what's going to happen? I still don't think anything is imminent. Like I said, maybe by the time we're off in 5 minutes, we're going to find out there is, somebody joining the Big 12. But I think this is going slower, it sounds like, than it was going to. So it's a storyline that we'll follow all fall along. Hey, do you have one more thing I want to mention? But quickly, Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate, the #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley. Check him out. No home is too big or too small. Matt Bauscher can help get it done for you. BauscherRealEstate.com. The Blue and Orange store as well. Be on the lookout for an event they're doing with JL Skinner. We'll keep you updated on that. May even try to do a live broadcast over there, Jay, if it's on a Tuesday or Friday. We'll have to see who gets the bigger autograph line, Jay Tust or JL Skinner over at the Blue and Orange store. But you can get free shipping on any order over $40. Check them out there at the Boise Town Square Mall if you're in person in Boise in the Treasure Valley, right next to the Pro Image. And again, they've got those new Khalil Shakir Bills jerseys over there. Check those out as well. But if you're not in the area, the blueandorange.store.com, you can get those deals where you get free shipping over $40. So make sure to check out the Blue and Orange store. And we have perfect time with fall camp starting next week to get that game day gear for the season. Also a perfect time to get out and play some golf at Timberstone out in Caldwell. Great course, great greens, beautiful out there. PlayTimberstone.com is where you go to book that tee time. So if you're looking for a spot to hit the links, PlayTimberstone.com. Very easy way to book those tee times online. And hopefully we'll see you out there at Timberstone Golf Course here in the near future. And Jay, as we kind of wrap this up, I did want to play one bite from Andy Avalos from Media Days, because all this comes down to, we're talking about attendance, we're talking about conference realignment, we're talking about all this stuff off the field, and it comes down to, what happens on the field for 12 games this year, and in particular for the 6 home games. 3 home games they lost last year in a row, first time since 1996. I mean, we're talking, 25 years or whatever it is. I mean, it's something that hasn't happened around here, as you know, Jay, in a very, very long time. And, oh, yeah, by the way, you got all your tough games are at home this year. So I know it's kind of a fluky year last year, but it was just so weird to see them lose 3 home games. And here's Andy Avalos with a quick thought on trying to defend the Blue.
Yeah. obviously it's a big deal to make sure that, when we step into Albertson Stadium, we perform at a consistent elite level that we're capable of. And so, again, that goes back to how we train and how we prepare, and that's a lot different than what it was last year, and the guys are leading that now, and it's a big deal. So, we understand the standard and all those things, and we look forward to defending the blue.
Your thoughts, Jay, as we kind of wrap this up on, we can talk all we want about expansion and enhancements to the game day experience and everything we've talked for the last, 30 minutes and 18 seconds. But really it comes down to this year, them needing to get back at home, because if they can take care of business at home, then this is a 10-win team. I mean, Oregon State and Air Force are really the only two road games that semi-scare you. I don't think you're too worried about UTEP or, New Mexico. And you've got Wyoming, I know, in mid-November, which is always a challenge, I guess, with the weather, but I don't think they're going to be anything super special this year. So, and there's one I'm forgetting, Reno. I don't think Nevada's, they lost a lot this year too. So I think if you can take care of business at home, which used to be a given, they're going to win the home games, which road games might they lose? That's not the case anymore. And they've lost, 13, they're like 125 and 13 or something or whatever it is at home. And you've had a lot of those come in the last few years. So what are your thoughts just on the home schedule and them trying to protect the blue this year in year number 2 under Andy Avalos?
You took the words out of my mouth. If this team handles business on the blue, they will be trajecting towards a 10 or 11 win season. I mean, that absolutely. That's the way that I feel about it. It also means that they'll get to probably host a Mountain West championship game on the blue. I couldn't agree more. So a big year for them to restore. We've laughed about this in the past, but a big year for them to restore the mystique and the meaning behind the blue turf that was a place that opponents would once come and just know that they probably didn't really have a shot to leave Boise with the win as hard as they tried. And last year it happened way too often. And so that has to be something that this offseason it's needed to fuel workouts. It has to be something that this Boise State football team takes personally. And considering Andy Avalos' history, both as a player and a coach, I'm guessing that's going to get embedded into the fabric of this program this year.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the main storylines this year, trying to get back to taking care of business at home, and should be very interesting. Finally, Jay, when we talk on Tuesday, we'll have actual football to talk about. We'll have plenty of sound bites from Monday. I think Monday I may switch it up and either do an evening show or later in the day, so we have all the post sound stuff from Monday. But we'll be back Tuesday, and we do have a programming note. It looks like for a couple weeks in fall camp, we may have to alter the time to somewhere around 11. But we'll play that by ear. But next week we should be okay, at least for your 2 appearances on Tuesday and Friday. But Jay, appreciate your time, man. Have a good weekend. And by the way, before we go, speaking of the blue, I'll be taking my 5-year-old tonight. I believe tonight is the movie on the blue night. It's the Sandlot. So if anybody's looking for something to do, I went last year with my kids. It's a pretty cool event. They'll have some of the basketball players and some other sports down there with little games for kids and stuff on the blue from 6 to 7. And then at 7, they're playing the Sandlot up on the big screen, and you get to get a blanket out and sit on the blue and just watch a movie. And it's a pretty cool deal for kids. So I'll probably hopefully see some of you there with my 5-year-old for the Sandlot. But Jay, you can bring the little one, or maybe just come by yourself and watch the Sandlot. Come on.
Yeah, right. I'm going to hunt down RJ Keene and tell him to take it easy on me and my Mariners. So.
He was there last year. Maybe he'll be there again this year as one of the younger guys on the team. But well, hope maybe you'll have Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani by then, and you can have the last word. But appreciate everybody for checking us out. Jay, appreciate you. Appreciate all of our sponsors, and we're excited. It's going to be a fun fall. We got some cool announcements that we're getting ready to make in the next couple of weeks, expanding the Bronco Nation News team here. So, Jay, appreciate you, man, and we'll talk to you Tuesday. Have a good week. The final weekend before fall camp starts, so hopefully you're able to catch a breather.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the goal this weekend.
Appreciate it, Jay. Have a great day, everybody. And again, if news breaks, we'll be back. If not, we'll talk to you on Monday with Media Day with Andy Avalos, all the coaches talking to the media. So it's going to be a fun week next week with that, and then practice starting on Wednesday. So football is here, folks. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you Monday. Bronco Nation News, Bronco Nation.